Hey guys, Tim Bratz here. Welcome to another episode of Spilling the Beans. Today I'm sitting down with Holly MacKinnon, who owns Small Seed Bars. They are protein bars that are all vegan, all clean ingredients, super healthy, and really awesome. And so she's local here in the Charleston market, has a really cool backstory, has a great tribal kind of Instagram following. And I'm excited to sit down with her in a two-part series where we talk a lot about the product and the health components of what are you eating and the healthy side of life, and what kind of inspired her in order to make this product, and talk a little bit about what it's like to manufacture a food item. And then the second part, which will be next week, we're going to talk more about the business journey and what it's like working with her spouse and what it's like trying to scale the business. Does it happen as quick as we want it to be, or does it take a little bit longer? And what is a little bit more of that journey, and what are the steps that people need to take in order to continuously grow their business and advance? And so super pumped to sit down with Holly. She's a ton of fun, has a great personality. I'm excited for this episode. Holly, welcome to Spilling the Beans. This is gonna be fun because we're gonna do a two-part series. I wanna talk a lot about the product, and I love having entrepreneurs on who are not real estate entrepreneurs, right? Like obviously I'm a real estate person, so a lot of the conversations I have are regarding real estate, but I think it's so cool to see parallels in business and see how like these certain principles in business transcend product, right? And transcend industry, and talking about marketing, talking about sales, talking about accounting and finance and operations and human resources and all the other stuff that every business needs is really cool. And I think there's things that we can take from one business or one industry and then implement it over here in this one, and be able to elevate, and everybody's able to have more success and some more fun. So anyways, what I'd like to do is spend, I don't know, the first half, right? The first episode on really the product. I know you're big into health. I know you're big into, and by the way, the Small Seed Bars are like a staple in our household, right? Like so I fast, and the only thing I eat during the day is a Small Seed Bar and coffee. Awesome. And then I do a regular dinner, right, with the fam.
You fast all day?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I try to, at least. I mean, five days a week, I would say.
Okay, cool.
Other than I'll eat a Small Seed Bar if I'm going to go work out with like Gunner or something. And I need like a.
Don't want to die.
Yep. And so, but this is it. This is the protein that I get, and the nutrition and the health side of things, where I'm really focused on that. And then I'll just do a regular dinner. But this is a staple, and my wife has one every single morning. And then it's one of the only protein bars, or like we call them breakfast bars and stuff in our house. That the kids will eat too. And
I love that.
Yeah, so a lot
the best compliment I always say is like when kids eat them. I'm like, adults will kind of eat shitty food. Yeah. Oh, are you allowed to swear on your podcast?
Yeah, you can totally swear. We swear a lot, actually.
Sorry, yeah, okay, so me, I do too. I feel like I always have to check, so I'm like, I'm not sure what this audience is. No, it's usually like crappy food that like they'll eat things that don't taste so good, but a kid will straight up tell you like, no, I don't like that. Yep. Like, so I'm always like, the best compliment is when people are like, my kid's picky, or like, these are the only bars my kids eat. I'm like, yes, we won them over. Also, we're winning them over young, because I'm like, you teach them health young, and then like, they're good to go for the rest of their life.
I love it. So let's do that. So let's dive into the product. I want to hear a little bit like how it got started and all that. But we'll dive into really like the business side of things, and kind of the growth and the struggles and all that kind of stuff in the second episode. But I want to hit on, and I want to understand the backstory. So tell me a little bit about, how did you start Small Seed?
So Small Seed we started in San Diego. My husband and I were both working for startup companies. He was at the time working for the largest meal delivery service company in the United States. So he was working like 100 hours a week. Like, he was just always busy. I was working for a startup, and I was also, like I told you before we started rolling, I was like doing a whole business plan for a cafe. So we were so busy, at that time I had also taken my health coach certification. So I started learning more about like the intricacies of like health and ingredients and all that kind of stuff. And
but your background's in marketing, you said, right?
Yes, yeah. So
it was more of a passion project.
This is the funny thing about college, and like maybe like other people can say this too, but like you go for one thing and like you would just absolutely do nothing in it.
100%.
For sure I do business, and like marketing has helped, but like, yeah, no, the food is like where I'm really at. Like that's my real passion. That's like really what started all this. So I started learning more about food, and just like everything we were eating, we started just like, me and my husband are like extremists. So we're like, cut it cold. Like, we don't do any transitions. We're like, get everything out of the house, like clean it all out. We were so busy. We just like were choosing not to eat because there was just like no fast food we could eat. And we went vegan and gluten free around this time. So there was like really no like healthy bars that were vegan, gluten free, and then like had high protein, weren't high in sugar, all those things. So I just started making these at my house for us.
When did you go down the rabbit hole of, because I'm down the same rabbit hole, right? Of like, there's so much bad stuff in all the processed foods that we eat on a daily basis. And like my wife has the Think Dirty app.
Yes, yeah.
And so she goes through that and, you know, removes
"We're
a
not
bunch of the
doing this."
deodorant,
Yeah.
removes a bunch of the lotions, gets rid of the sunscreen, and gets like all the cleaner versions of it. And food is very similar, right? And there's like all this nonsense, all the sugar, all the added sugar, all the trans fats, all the other stuff, the seed oils and stuff like that that are like really,
just like
really
the
bad
chemicals in general. Just like, so when you flip over most food, like the majority of food on the shelves, like we don't even know half the ingredients and we're just shoving it in our face and we're like, this is so good. Like, and then we wonder why like we don't feel full after, we feel shitty and sluggish and like we're bloated and we have like all these other issues that are like related to our gut, like eczema and all these different things that like if you just cleaned up your diet, you know, you'd feel a lot better. But it really started with that health certification because they just like opened up all. So let me back up. My husband worked for a company. It was a paleo company, and the owner of that company, he started talking to me about like all like just everything that like opened my eyes to like grass-fed, grass-finished, and like all of like the like ingredients, because paleo's very like clean too, sugars and all these things. And I had like never heard anybody talk about food like that before in my life. I was like a huge junk food, like anybody who knows me knows I love candy. Like I'm like a sweets are my thing. Like, and so I was just like, what? Like I was so like amazed by him. I was like, tell me more. Like anytime I go visit my husband at work, I just like get into conversations with him and be like, I'm like fascinated by this. So that's like really what led me into the health certification. And then from that, I just started learning more and more and more on my own, just like digging.
In your health certification, was it like, I don't know, mainstream Western medicine type health stuff? Or was it more?
Yeah, it was more like Chinese medicine and like, that kind of stuff. It was more like holistic. It was a holistic, it was a whole holistic health certification type thing. So using food as medicine and all that different kind of stuff.
Love that.
So like at that time I was really like learning about all of these different ingredients and different things like that, and just started actually looking at the food that we were eating. And even still now, like you were saying, like your wife's like into like lotions and sunscreen, all that stuff. Like my main focus was like food. I'm like, okay, this is what I eat. Like this is what touches me and eat, like what goes into my system. Like I have to consume food to live. Like I need to focus on this. And it was like my main focus for a long period of time. Like I really only started getting into like the more other products like the last like I would say 3 to 5 years. But like my main focus at the time was like, okay, I need to know everything I can know about food products. And
well, I mean, one you're putting on your skin or on your body, the other one you're actually putting in your body. So it's definitely.
And you're consuming like multiple times a day. Like usually, like you put lotion on, like maybe like women do like more things in the morning or whatever. But like your food you're eating like all day, I mean, unless you're fasting. But you're eating like all day long, like. And so I think that's like the most important thing. And so once I started just learning more about the food industry, and then, which like goes into this whole rabbit hole, like how corrupt it is, and all of the different things of the FDA, and how like everybody sits on the board of like all like just the absolute like wildness of like you're like I can't even believe that this is like how is this happening in the United States? And then it's crazy because what we have here and what's legal here is like completely banned in other countries, and it's like, well, if it's so supposedly safe here, why have other countries, literal governments, said like this is so unsafe, we will not have this in our food, like. And these are American companies who put this in their food.
Because they can write a bigger check.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
why.
And end of the day, it's like bottom line. And like, I'm a business too, and I get it, you have to make money, but I'm like, at what cost? Like
exactly.
At what cost?
No, it's a huge
like
question, right? And unfortunately, it's like a moral gray area. It's seen as a moral gray area, and it shouldn't be seen as that at all.
But what is amazing is like we, the consumers, have the buying power. So like we really can change like the way that companies make their food. The more educated we become, and like the more we understand. And I feel like it's becoming more and more mainstream. Like even when I was in California, it was like very California-y to be like, how like they're a little bit more like maybe ahead than like the rest of the United States. But like, so it was popular, but even then it wasn't as popular as like I was starting to learn like more and more and doing my own research and that kind of stuff. And like now I do feel like, especially with social media and all this kind of stuff, people are able to get that information. And so I do think we are seeing like slow changes in things and people's like purchasing powers and all that kind of stuff, making companies change. But yeah, it's like.
I agree.
The whole corruption of the food industry is just absolutely insane. Like, if you haven't dove into it, then it's like
well, it's like you are the epitome of change starts with me kind of a thing, right? And so, like, what was how did you decide? All right, well, let's start making small seed bars.
So I made them for my husband and I because we were so busy, like we weren't eating. So I'm like, all right, let me like make something at home that like I feel comfortable eating, you want to eat. So I would give them to him to eat at work. I'd be eating them at work. We like started giving them to coworkers and friends and different stuff like that. And people are like, guys, like these are really good. You guys should start selling these. And I was like, what? Like sell them? No. And then like
how do you make them? Like what's the process in making them just at home?
So it was like they're just like raw food bars basically. Like they were never baked or anything. They're just a bunch of ingredients like rolled out into little like squares, which is basically still what we do now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's in like a mixer. You mix up all you throw all the ingredients in, mix it all up, like, and then it's like compact and you roll it out and it's like cut it into pieces and it's a bar. You know, that's literally how we've done it since like the day I started making them.
I love
like,
it.
Just like that.
Well, I mean, otherwise I don't know, somebody like me who's not familiar, I don't know, do you have a big manufacturing plant? Like, what are the needs? Like, you can literally do this in your own kitchen.
Yes. Oh, for sure. And that's the funny thing. We actually, like, just this year, we're in our 6th year of business, and, like, we just are getting a, like, manufacturing piece of equipment because my husband's literally made, we, like, just calculated, it's, like, over 1 million bars he's made. Like, just rolling, like, just breaking his body, like, rolling them out. Like, same way we made them from the first day I made them in my kitchen in San Diego. Like, we still make them that same way where we mix up all the ingredients, we roll them all out, we cut them all into, like, they're very hands-on, handmade, like, literal love goes into every single bar.
I love that.
So it's going to be good to have, like, but it's a lot of time also. Mm-hmm. So it's, like, legit his whole life is making small seed bars. Like, and so it'll be nice to have, like, the freedom of that. But, yeah, like, I just made them like that, and then we started giving them to friends, and people were like, these are really good. You guys should start selling these. And in San Diego, farmers markets are really big. So I was like, let's see. Like, let me see if I can get into a farmers market because they're also very competitive because they're so popular. So I got into my first one, started selling them, like did really well, ended up getting into like 6 or something, like 6 farmers markets at one time. So I was selling them at the farmers markets, like people were really loving them.
Just different days of the week, you'd
like,
set up camp? I
was working and then I quit my job just to do like that full time, do the farmers markets full time. My husband was still working, providing for us because, you know, this makes no money. And then 2 months in, I got my first wholesale account. And it was these gyms in San Diego. They're called Fit Athletic. I think there's 3 of them. So we got into the first one, started doing really well. Got into the second one, got into the third one. We were in all 3 of them. And then it kind of like snowballed. And I think at that point, my husband was like, hey, like, let's maybe not make this into like a farmer's market brand and make it into like a real brand. Like this could probably be something bigger than like you go to the farmer's market and you sell them at the farmer's market. And his whole thing was like operations and food, and like that's what he was doing at the time. So he like really knew that. Like I had
good point.
I didn't know anything. Like I was like, how do you even, like where do I even start? You know, like I know how to make them, but
this isn't what the packaging looked like at that time.
No. It was like, our original packaging was like butcher paper folded up over the bar with like a sticker that said like from a small seed bar. It used to be called from a small seed, so from a small seed bar, just like a sticker on it. And like,
I like
here you go. And like the oils these have been like remade like probably 7 different times at this point. But like the original ones, the oils from the nut butters would just leak into the butcher paper. So I'm like, here, this looks so good. But people loved them, like, and they sold them in stores. That was like the crazy part. They were not great at all. Like we even had, do you know the Frisellas, like Emily and Andy Frisella? Okay, like my brother at one point gave like this is when they were like so shoddy, like oils leaking through the packaging, just gave them to Andy Frisella and was like, give these to your wife. I know she likes how, like still to this day, she's one of our customers.
Really?
Like just the weirdest, wildest things, but people loved them. That's the thing. They were good. They were healthy. The ingredients were good. They make you feel good. Like I think the main thing people always say is like, I feel so good after I eat them. Like I don't feel bloated. Like I don't feel sluggish. Like they actually give me energy. They actually keep me full. Like, and they're good, you know, like they taste good. And so, yeah, then my husband left his job to like help me do this full time. And then we found out we were pregnant a month later. So he left in October. We found out we were pregnant in November. We're like, sick, good time. Like, so we were like, yeah, we gotta leave.
It's funny how life plays out.
I know. We're like, we gotta leave San Diego like ASAP because we literally didn't have like no money. Yeah. And we wouldn't have been able to get a house or anything there. Like we're like, okay, now we have to start thinking about like a child and stuff. So we moved to Raleigh and really started focusing on like wholesale. Like that was our main. Like we were talking to like large retailers and all of these different things and like trying to get like different packaging and boxing and all this kind of stuff because it's also like very political. Like the wholesale side of things is a whole other story. Like it's just like very political and like you have to like know people and have a lot of money, which we didn't know people or have a lot of money. So it was like this whole
really
challenge.
swimming
Yes,
upstream.
it was like really challenged, but we were doing it. And then COVID happened, and we lost 70% of our business because
man.
it was like all of our wholesale accounts were just like shut down. Like they were all like coffee shops and juice bars and little gyms and health food stores and all this kind of stuff. And people just like, they had to shut down, and then they stopped going out. And then a lot of our things were in Raleigh. Downtown Raleigh got like burnt down. Like the rides and stuff were crazy there. And so we literally lost 70% of our business. Like we had a baby, like a child. So we're like,
Scary stuff.
it was really bad. We're like, okay, maybe we have to like go back. Like you have to go back to, like my husband, we're like, you have to go back to work. And like, I don't know what we're gonna do. Like, but this was all of our time also. But I was also like home with my daughter. Like like you work, but then you have like daycare, which daycare is just so expensive. You're like, okay, you get a job and I'll stay home. And then,
Right.
So he was like I said, he used to ship nationwide. So he was like, what if we start focusing on like shipping and like push really hard on social media and try to reach people who like aren't right in front of us. Like, let's just do the whole like digital thing. Like you get on there, like be the face, and like we'll just try to push that really hard. So we literally just like completely pivoted like what we were trying to do. We stopped talking and the thing was we were talking with like Harris Teeter and like these people like to get in there, and it was just like conversations closed. Like we're not doing anything right now, COVID, like it was just like fresh, like out of 2020.
So you got to go straight to the consumer then.
So we're like, hey, you can take away like a grocery store, right? Or you can take away a coffee shop, but I can't take you away from ordering from me. Like, I guess unless the internet shuts down or something, but like
Right.
you could always order from me. So we were like, we really need to start like pushing online and figure out like, okay, how are we shipping nationwide? Like, what are we doing? Which like, that was all my husband because he had been doing that with his last company. So he was like, I'll figure out all like the logistics and everything like that. And like, you just keep trying to reach people online, just keep putting content out and like, let's just see what we can do. And so like, we just started really trying to gain traction in that. And then we were like
and
gaining,
you have. Yeah.
we were gaining a lot of traction and just getting like a lot of people to start to like try us and know us. And like our whole thing is like, we've probably spent in like 6 years, maybe spent like $500 on marketing.
Really?
Every single thing has been word of mouth. Like
Wow.
our biggest, like, it's like my biggest heart is I'm like, make a good product and people will talk about it, like, and be a good person too. Like be a good company, be a company people want to support, have a good product, and people will talk about it. And that's like what we've like embodied, like our whole journey of business is just like, we made a good product. I feel like we're good people and and people like it. And so people talk about it and it's just literally grown word of mouth. Like we've just had really great people like online and stuff who have talked about us and like, we don't give them anything. Like that's the crazy thing. People think we give them stuff. I'm like, no, I wish we could. Like it's still just me and my husband who work for our company. We're still like a very, like on the greater scheme of large companies, like we're still a very small company. Like it's just me and him who work for us. Like, but these people, they're just like so nice and they just want to help like get our product out and they like love, like Gunner's one of those people who's just like share. And I'm like, I will give you all the bars to keep sharing with people, like keep sharing. But I'm like, yes, like, cause I don't have like the marketing budget to like hire content. Like, you know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. I'm like, and so we were like, all right, we need to like pivot our business to go online. Like, let's do that. We were still like really struggling by like, I think 2021, I got pregnant with my son. And we were still struggling. We're like, okay, we need like something big to happen. So the housing market was crazy at that time. The housing market was crazy at that time. So we're like, let's sell our house, take the money off the top, use that money to like keep funding our business. And so we literally sold our house in Raleigh. We were actually looking at houses while I was in the hospital, like giving birth to my son. We're like in Charleston. We're like, okay, he was 3 days old and we drove down to Charleston to go look at houses. And then we found nothing.
So this is your second child?
This is my second child, yeah. So this is in 2021. And like we were doing better, but 2020 had like really, we by all means should not have been in business anymore. Like, we had no money.
It's funny how resilient people are though, right? It's like when you get put and your back's against the wall, like you couldn't have been in a worse situation, but it's like humans are resilient, right? And you figure things out and you dodge and weave. Nobody wants to go through that, but at the same time, it's like that was like the absolute worst case scenario, and you're still alive, and right? And you're still here, and you're still doing amazing, like, and it's made you stronger and tougher and better in business for going through that. Nobody wants to go through it, but it's when you put it in perspective and you're like, that is the absolute worst thing that could ever happen to us, and it did happen to us, and guess what? We're still here, right?
Exactly.
Gives you a sense of confidence, I think, moving forward.
I think so too. And it really makes you feel like this is what we're meant to be doing. Like everything in the universe was just like falling into line, like exactly how we needed it to. Like I believe in God, so I'm like, I just feel like everything, like God was like placing us, like this is the path that you're meant to be on. Like I'm gonna set you up. Like this is like where you're supposed to be going. Just keep trusting the process and keep like walking along. And I'm just gonna keep like laying stones in front of you for you to walk on because you're gonna keep on going there. Like, and
cool.
I really do feel like this is like what I'm meant to be doing. Like this is like my heart. Like besides my kids and my husband, I'm like this is like my everything. Like this is like everything. I'm like. Because besides just the bar, like we're also like an educational platform that we like really try to share a lot of information and content on like we were talking about like ingredients and knowing your ingredients and how to read food labels and how to understand nutrition labels and all the different kind of stuff. And it's like the more people who can understand that, the better decisions they make. And then more companies like ours just keep on growing and getting more and more power. And I think that's exactly where I want our food world to be.
I agree. So let's dive into the back of a nutrition label.
Yes.
From my perspective, right?
Yeah. How do you read when you flip something over? Like, what's the first thing you look at? Are you a macros person?
So, I don't even know what that means, but I think that's like the vitamins and stuff over here. Like,
so macros would be like your protein, calories, fats.
Yes. So I look at that's what I look at. So
First.
I look at the calories, 260 calories, and me personally, for who I am and what I want out of food, and I think there's psychology, right? Like we're so trained that food should be like an experience and it should taste good and all these other things, where food originally as humans, right? It should be a fuel source.
Yes.
And that should be the
People
first
hate
thing.
that.
Yeah.
People hate when people say that. They're like, it has to taste good though. How dare you say food is just fuel?
Yeah. And so when I look at it, I'm like, all right, well, how can I get the most protein for the least amount of calories typically, without any sort of added ingredients or anything along those lines. So I don't really care that much about fat as much because I walk a lot, I work out heavy a couple times a week or 3-4 times a week, and but I look at the protein, right?
Okay.
And I'm in the mindset of it's hard for me to stay disciplined on food because I love to eat and I love look at the kids and they're eating chicken nuggets, right? And like all the best
eat
stuff
your
is what they eat.
leftovers,
Exactly. But I tried to crowd out the bad stuff with good stuff,
Yes.
right? And it's instead of me, sacrificing all these things, I just try to like replace, a bad protein bar with a good protein bar or something along those lines. And so that's more what I look at. And I do often look at the ingredients and make sure that I can like pronounce all of the ingredients and I know what all these things are.
Yes.
And that is the case here. So how should I be reading?
So the way I read them is I don't even look at the nutrition facts at first. The first thing I want to do is like, do I need to waste my time looking at the nutrition facts? Because I want to read the ingredients first. I want to know what's fueling over here, right? Like, where are those fats coming from? Where are those proteins coming from? Where is the sugar coming from? All that kind of stuff. So the first thing I do is I look at the ingredients. Same with you. I make sure I can recognize all of the ingredients. If there's like one ingredient in there that I'm like, I've never heard of that word. I've never heard of sachaichi before, right? Like I'm like, that seems like it would probably be a food ingredient, but I'm not sure. I will personally like take my phone out and be like, sachaichi, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's just it's like a seed. Okay, cool. Like,
Got it.
And then my next thing I do is look at the sugars, because you will be shocked at how many like food that looks like, it's seemingly healthy from an ingredient standpoint, then has like 20 grams of added sugar, and you're like, damn, do I really want to?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's coming from honey, or like, yeah, maybe it's coming from like maple syrup or whatever. I'm like, that's still a lot of sugar when you think about it. Like, kids alone are only supposed to have 25 grams of added sugar a day. So if one of their little snack bars has 20 grams of sugar in it, like, that only leaves them 5 more grams of added sugar a day. Like, this is why our kids are struggling with health, because everything has added sugar to it, and it's like coming not from the best sources. It's like our high fructose corn syrup and like just our cane sugar even. Like, so my thing is like, okay, let me look at the sugar, and I do look at the added sugars, not the total sugars. I'm like, okay, because total sugar would be like if you had apple juice and there were sugars, and like personally, I'm like, whatever, So I look at
what's the comedian? He's like, what's his name? Like the real clean comedian. What's it? Nate Bargatze. He's got a thing where he's like, I started eating a lot of fruit, and people are like, you got to watch out for the sugars. He's like, the sugars from fruit. He's like, show me your fat fruit friends, right? That just eat fruit and they're really fat, right? Like that doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Like, those sugars are okay sugars.
And also, like when you're eating, when you're eating fruit, you're getting the fiber, so it's like canceling it out. Which is another thing with like our bars is we are a high fiber bar, which is also why I'm convinced people are like, I'm so full.
Feeling better,
like I'm so full when I eat them. So yeah, that's how I look at it. And then after that, I'm same as you because I work out. So I'm like, let me look at protein. All right, protein looks good. And then I look at fibers, and then like I carry on. I also am like very much ingredients over macros because I'm like, if you're, especially in the fitness world, maybe not so right now. Actually, still right now. The fitness world is very macro obsessed, and like they want to so they will do like 0, 0, 0, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, 0 calories, and you're like, well, what is it made out of? And you look at the ingredients, you're like, your gut has to be fucked. Like like you may look chiseled and like sexy and great, but I'm like, your internal inside is dying. Like you're not doing good in there. Like, and yeah, some people that's like the look, if they're bodybuilders or whatever, but I'm like, still. Your insides are like crying out, like help me, no more artificial foods. Like, and
so how does what's the best way for somebody to like clean that up?
Clean out their gut?
Yeah.
Eat real food.
Eat real food.
Eat real food. Like, stop with the sugars. I know you're not plant-based, but like, I think doing like a 17-day like gut detox where you're doing like no dairy. If you're doing animal protein, it's like grass-fed, grass-finished, and it's like the wild, so like wild-caught fish or bison or any of those type of things. And then, no sugar, like no type of sugar at all, because sugar feeds our bad gut bacteria. And like I said, it's literally basically in everything. And you can do sugars like from fruit and stuff, but you really want to clean out your gut. It takes like 17 days for your gut to be fully healed and cleaned out. So doing
what's
even
the
like
easiest way for somebody like me? Do I change my diet? Do I obviously there are changes that you want to make on an ongoing basis, but like if I want to do a detox or something, would you suggest that or just say, hey, let's make these other adjustments?
I think it just depends on your personality too, because if you're someone who is going to like struggle with some type of like food, like maybe you've had food problems in the past where then it's going to create some type of like snowball effect and you're going to feel like you're depriving yourself or something like that, I would say not to do that. But if you're like an extremist, like
I am.
Okay, yeah. So then I'd be like, just put everything that you currently eat like to the side for right now, and let's just do like a whole new plan that's like a gut-friendly plan.
Juice for the next 17 days kind of a thing?
But not juice. You do want to eat real food. But yeah, maybe juice in the morning. Maybe you do your celery juice in the morning, and then you fast for the afternoon, and then you don't eat your first meal until nighttime, which fasting is a great way to clean your gut. Like that is a wonderful way to clean your gut because it's allowing your body to like process it on its own and get through it on its own. But really focusing on like no ultra processed foods, getting rid of the seed oils, getting rid of any of the artificial ingredients, artificial sugars, artificial flavors, artificial coloring, all of that kind of stuff, just cutting that out and really making everything from scratch too. Like everything at home, everything, every single ingredient that's gone into that. And if you're using spices or you're using sauces or anything like that, looking at those ingredients too, because you'd be shocked at how many ingredients are like in our sauces and different things like that are just like trash or sugar,
sauces,
like
seasonings.
Just sugar. Like our ketchup, like normal Heinz ketchup has high fructose corn syrup in it. Like why the fuck? Like just tell me.
Why is that necessary?
Like why? Like why? Like, and so it's like different things like that. Like, but yeah, really focusing on just eating whole foods, like what we would have farmed and ate hundreds of years ago. Like our guts we weren't like dying of cancer back then, and it's not because it wasn't getting like tracked. It's like because we literally didn't have cancer, because what's giving us cancer now is like our lifestyles and what we eat.
No, I agree 100%. And so you guys grabbed, what was the impetus of, or how did you find all these ingredients, I guess, and how did you decide on these ingredients? And so I'd assume there's like a basic, these are in all of them, and then there's different flavor ingredients too,
exactly.
Right?
So we call it like our base, which is like what's in all of them, which is like the nut butter, the sprouted oats, and then the protein blend. And then we use the raw agave nectar and flaxseed. Those are like going to be in every single bar. And then outside of that, it's like the last 2, 3 ingredients, 4 ingredients are just whatever makes up the flavor type of thing. One of our like things is that we just are very simple ingredients, everything you could find in your own kitchen. Like if you wanted, you could make these yourself. That's our whole goal. But over time, these ingredients have changed. Like when I started learning more about sprouted foods, I was like, I want to change our oats to sprouted oats because they're more easily digestible. They're better for your gut. Like people can tolerate them more. even like the peanut butter in our bar, it's a Valencia peanut because most peanut butters are actually like moldy peanuts. They're made from Virginia peanuts, and the Valencia peanut is out in like Arizona, and it's made in drier weather, and it's grown above ground, not underground, so it's never moldy. So like you're getting that cleaner peanut butter, which a lot of people who actually have like peanut butter intolerances are allergic to the mold, and they can tolerate Valencia peanuts.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I've never heard that.
And people who like hate peanut butter, they're like my dad is one of them. Like he does not like peanut butter, but his favorite bar is our peanut butter coconut bar because he's like, I can tolerate the peanut butter versus like I usually am not a fan of it. So it's over time, and then like our mesquite powder and our sachaichi, which is like two of our proteins in there are like very easily digestible, like bioavailable proteins. Because these are all plant-based, we make sure like they all have like the most access to bioavailability for your proteins and different things like that.
It's so good because guess what? I've been eating these because I like them. They taste good. I know that they're healthy. I know it all, but I don't know the definition or the explanation of why you use each one. It's super interesting to know that you've gone ingredient by ingredient and said, hey, here's why we use this one instead of this one. Here's why we use sprouted oats instead of these other oats. And everything. It's like, that's really, I don't know, empowering to think about, and makes me want to eat these more.
Yeah,
right?
Even like our sprouted brown rice or like our yellow pea, like most people would just do regular brown rice protein, and we don't do any like concentrates. Like these are like the full nut is ground down to make the protein, because a lot of those like concentrated ones, they actually are like not, you can't absorb them, because it'd be like taking certain like minerals and vitamins out of a food and then being like, now eat this vitamin C. When like the vitamin C is supposed to be like the whole orange, and there's like there's other minerals that actually help you absorb the vitamin C. It's not just like you take a vitamin C tablet and you're going to absorb it. Like most of those type of things that are like removing all of the other minerals and nutrients that go along with the whole food is like canceling it out, because you can't actually absorb it. Like it was made perfectly for us to intake it and like use all of it.
You don't need to synthesize this.
Exactly.
So like I just think, creating food is an interesting concept, or, selling a type of food. On the nutrition facts, how do you figure out all this stuff, right? Like, do you mail in your product to somebody and then they tell you how much fat, how much of each of these is in there?
So you actually send every single ingredient and the brand of ingredient that you use to a company, and then they like put it through a system, and the system tells you like what each thing is. So we'd send like.
So you say, hey, here's how much, like we use 1 ounce of this, we use a teaspoon of this, we use whatever.
Like, oh, we use this like brand of peanut butter, and we use like however many grams per bar, and then like it gets broken down like that basically, and then they put it in their system, and then it gives you your nutrition label. And one of the things my husband worked really hard on is he's very fit, and a lot of his friends are like bodybuilders and fitness stuff, so they like to just like be able to track their food and put it in and like not have to worry, like be like, okay, I know I'm getting 140 calories, I know I'm getting 20 grams of protein. So he worked really hard to get like, I think the majority of our food labels are almost the exact same. Like he worked really hard to make sure that they were. So we took certain things out, added certain things, depending on what the ingredients were. If our bars have fruit in them, like that chocolate cherry bar, we took out a little bit of our agave so that we could balance out the sugar, so the sugar stayed the same at 4 added sugars, like different things like that. He worked really hard to make sure that like you can pick up any one of these flavors and you kind of know what you're getting type thing. So you send it in, and then they basically put it in their system, calculate it all, and then send it back to you. And then anytime you add like a new flavor or change it or anything like that, you have to.
And this is like, what I love about it is like, there's like the chocolate cherry. This could be like your dessert, right?
Yes, yeah.
Instead of ordering a 1,200 calorie dessert with a bunch of added sugars, like, I don't know, break this thing in half and you got 120
calories. Pop it in
calories.
the microwave and like some of these like, sorry if you're not a microwave person, but I still use my microwave. But like the snickerdoodle, like warmed up, like so good. Like it's literally a dessert. Like like, this is like, sometimes I leave it in my car in like the warmer weather to like toast it up. Like go out there, I'm like, this tastes like a warm, fresh baked cookie. Like they're.
Because most of them, I eat straight out of the refrigerator.
Okay.
Most of them. But I haven't warmed them up. But Kate, my wife, does that once in a while. And especially, I think like the strawberry one, she loves to do that with. And then sometimes she'll crumble it up and put it like into her cereal and almost make it like, or like into yogurt. Greek yogurt, right? Into Greek yogurt and make it like a little bit of a cereal or something. And that's how she eats it. So I haven't really experimented, but it's cool to know that you don't just, or there's other ways outside of
People
just
like
eating
love
it
to
as
eat
a
them like
breakfast bar.
I love my favorite way is like room temp or like a little warm, left in the car, but not too long because these can only stay out for 30 days.
Right. But I mean that's a testament, right? Like sometimes you think about, oh well, they're good for 30 days, but guess what? That's because it's got real ingredients.
Exactly.
Nothing real should last longer than 30 days that you're putting into your body.
It's like real sketchy when you're like, this was this is good until 2027.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's like 2022 right now. It seems a little sketch.
Yeah.
Like,
how's that possible?
Yeah.
What are we ingesting? That's awesome. So I think that's fantastic. What I'd like to do is close up on the first phase of this, and I want to dive into the business side of things.
Okay.
So let's dive into the business side and talk about the manufacturing and all that in the second half of this.
Okay.
Hey, hopefully you got some great takeaways from my sit down with Holly. Again, we're gonna be here next week talking more about her journey and the business components of how she's built her business. The marketing and sales, the finance and the accounting, the human resources and the operations side of things, and what the growth looks like over time. So excited for next week as well, and would love to hear any of your feedback in the comments section below. Make sure that you're following Small Seed Bar on Instagram and give them an order. Check out the bars. They do a fantastic job. And like Holly said, they really pour their heart into everything. So until next week, see you on Spill the Beans.